In disbelief, he rushed over to check. Sure enough, the download count had jumped by thousands, every single review glowing with 5 stars. This can't be real. At that moment, Aaron seemed to lose all composure. He collapsed to his knees, clutching his head in agony. Help me, help me. What's wrong with this world? What's really happening here? Maying immediately rushed over, calling out anxiously. Baiken, what's wrong? I know you poured everything you had into this game, and now at the end of it all, the pressure must feel unbearable. But don't let it consume you, it's not worth destroying your health. Forcing a smile, Baran replied, You're right, we've succeeded. But deep down, he knew the truth. Is this really success? No, it feels more like desperation. After a while, he forced himself to calm down and began thinking carefully. If this really is failure, then I need to understand exactly what caused it. Wait, the reviews, most of them keep mentioning the visuals. They're clearly hooked by the graphics, but how are they even seeing them? Desperate for answers, Bayan began to investigate. Who's behind this? Who's promoting it so effectively? Soon enough, he realized that the surge came from none other than Ruin Guangjian. I can't believe this. It's all because of him. But why? Why would he advertise my game instead of his own? Is he just bored and looking for trouble? Fuming, Baiken sent a message, Are you promoting Blue Jang on Instagram? Guangjian replied without hesitation. Yes. I asked a few artist friends to help with the promotion. You've built a clean, polished game, something that shouldn't go unnoticed. The entire $300,000 you invested shows in the final product, and my friends admire your dedication. The quality speaks for itself, and the artwork has drawn no criticism. That's why the reception has been overwhelmingly positive. I only gave it a small push. Reading the message, Bayan clenched his fists. He was furious, yet couldn't deny the truth. Reluctantly, he typed back, Well then, thank you. Guangjian continued warmly, CEO Bai, keep going. I'm sure you'll create even greater games in the future. I hope we'll have the chance to work together again. A week later, on accounting day, Baiken stood by the balcony, deep in thought. Suddenly, the system announced. Current capital, $514. Current profits, $214,700. At the exchange rate of 100 to 1, the host has received $2,147. Personal assets now total $2,371. Hearing this, Baiken let out a long, heavy sigh, his face dark with despair. In just 1 week, Jang's revenue had soared to $500,000, meaning total transactions had already exceeded 1 million. The game had recovered its entire investment within days and had already generated over 200,000 in profit. Meanwhile, his own assets amounted to barely 2,000. How am I supposed to face this? He thought bitterly. The young man could barely finish his thoughts before breaking into tears, overwhelmed by the reality before him. Earning 500,000 in the very first week, if this continued, the profits in just 3 months would surpass 6 million. He began calculating in his head, renting a luxurious office for 400,000 a month, hiring 30 additional employees at 200,000, and office supplies likely costing another 1 million. The thought of finding an office, recruiting staff, and purchasing company necessities weighed heavily on him. He had never done any of these things before. Lost in his thoughts, he suddenly felt a hand pat his shoulder. Turning, he saw none other than Mayang, the playful, mischievous one. Bayan, the game is doing so well right now. Why don't we go out and celebrate with a lavish meal? Bayan responded without hesitation, Sure, let's go. Deep inside, he remembered the promise he had made. If they ever made money, he would treat Mayang to a buffet. Still, Mayang looked at him curiously. Bayan, the game is a huge success, so why don't you look happy? Bayan gave a faint smile and replied, Oh, it's nothing. I've just been so busy with game development lately. I'm a little tired, I need a break. Mayang nudged his shoulder playfully. Busy or not, you're the owner of a company now. You should be taking care of yourself. You can't do everything on your own. Why don't you hire an assistant to help with the workload? The suggestion struck Bayan like an epiphany. Hire an assistant? Exactly, Maying exclaimed. I've seen it in so many movies, the arrogant CEO who drives his luxury car around every day, flirting and having fun, while leaving all company matters to his assistant. You know the saying, with a secretary, there are no worries. Bayan's eyes lit up. You're right. I should hire an assistant. Inwardly, he thought, hire an assistant to help me spend money. Haha. Playfully placing his hand on Mayang's shoulder, he said, You're a genius. I really do need a professional assistant, someone who can handle everything. In his mind, he was already imagining the benefits. An assistant to manage renting offices, hiring staff, purchasing supplies, someone to take care of all the exhausting tasks. Without wasting any time, he made his way straight to Jingo City, to the service center of the Renli Zan Group in Gansu Province. There, a man in a tailored suit approached him immediately. Hello, CEO Bayan, the man greeted warmly. I'm Lauren, the general manager of Renli Zan Group in Gansu Province. It's a pleasure to serve you. Bayan shook his hand firmly. Hello, Director Lauren. I'm here today to recruit an assistant. Lauren nodded respectfully. Do you have any specific requirements? Bayan replied simply with 4 words, the highest bidder. Without delay, Director Lauren placed a thick stack of resumes in front of him. These candidates are among the top assistant talents in Handong Province. Our headhunters have already spoken with them. They're highly adaptable, excellent in communication, skilled at handling complex tasks, and adept at dealing with people. As Bayan read through the profiles, something caught his attention. This Tan Hailu, she used to be the assistant vice president of a reputable company. Why did she resign? There's no explanation written here. Director Lauren hesitated for a moment before replying, perhaps CEO Bai doesn't often read the news. Finding the remark odd, Bayan pressed further, What news? Lauren explained, the vice president was caught in a scandal. He got drunk with bad intentions, and unexpectedly, the incident came to light. As a result, he was dismissed. Following that, Assistant Tan voluntarily resigned. Upon hearing this, Bayan was visibly surprised. He couldn't help but admire her resolve and strength. After a pause, he said firmly, Then choose her. I have only one condition. Director Lauren smiled faintly. Just tell me your request. We can negotiate. Bayan continued, As long as I ask for her opinion, she is free to give suggestions. But in all other cases, no matter what happens, she must remain silent and not meddle too much. Lauren chuckled lightly and responded, Of course. Those are the basic qualities of an executive assistant. The very next morning, 3 days later, a sleek car stopped in front of a towering skyscraper, drawing the attention of everyone nearby with its grand arrival. From the car stepped a stunning young woman with a graceful figure. She was Bayan Kangan's newly appointed executive assistant, Tanai Lau, earning an impressive monthly salary of $30,000. With elegance and professionalism, she opened the car door and said warmly, We've arrived, sir. Bayan stepped out, gazing up at the building with quiet contemplation. Shen Ho Havaj Jing, the most luxurious and expensive office building in Changjing. Here we are. Together, they entered the elevator, heading up to meet with the real estate agent. A man in a crisp white shirt greeted them enthusiastically. If CEO Bai wishes to rent an entire floor without sharing with other companies, I recommend the 17th floor. The view is truly breathtaking. Would you like me to show you? Pleased with his interest, the agent added quickly, Since it's for a newly established company, the government provides incentives. At Shen Ho Havaj Jing, you only need to pay half up front, with the remaining balance due at the end of the month. Bayan asked calmly, And what's the price? The agent raised 4 fingers with a smile. Only $4 per square meter. Admittedly, that's higher than other locations in Changchun, but our building ensures prestige and a strong first impression for your company. Only $4? Bayan exclaimed in surprise. That's so cheap. The agent froze, startled by Bayan's reaction. Inwardly, he calculated the floor is around 3,000 square meters. At $4 per square meter, that would cost $450,000 per month. Confused, he glanced at Bayan again. The young master of a wealthy family dressed so simply, yet he had such a capable and attractive secretary. Meanwhile, Bayan thought to himself, it's even $1 less than I had estimated. That leaves me with a surplus of $90,000 every month. Breaking the silence, the agent asked politely, "So, CEO Bai, are you satisfied with the environment here?" Bayan slid one hand into his pocket and replied casually, "I'll rent this floor." Inwardly, he reflected, how much should I invest? Wuzhong is out there working tirelessly to earn money every single day. I must not fall behind. Thrilled, the agent clapped his hands. "Excellent. I'll prepare the contract immediately." Soon after, Bayan began giving instructions to the building manager. A good working environment improves productivity and strengthens the company's image. The desks must not only be expensive but also grand in design. Computers must be top tier, with high-end keyboards and mice. Each workstation should have 2 monitors. This is essential in the digital age, especially for a game company, where computers are our primary production tools. And don't forget to add greenery. Work can be exhausting, but the sight of plants can help relax the mind. Graves require proper care, so it would be best to hire a professional to maintain them. Over there, I think the space is suitable for a small gym. Considering that the gaming industry often leads to health problems, regular exercise is crucial for peak performance. The reception area should be furnished with sofas and a tea corner. It would be ideal to have a premium tea set, complete with 7 or 8 varieties of high-quality tea, so that during negotiations we always have something special to offer. Manager Tan widened her eyes in surprise. "Yes, CEO Bai, I'll arrange everything right away. May I ask, what is the maximum budget you're comfortable with?" He hesitated for a moment before answering. "Between 500,000 and 800,000 dong, preferably closer to 800,000. At the same time, he thought to himself, good. The system isn't objecting or giving any warnings, which means this budget doesn't break any regulations. The deposit came to 700,000 for 1 month, and the office itself was 800,000. In an instant, he had already spent 1.5 million, a considerable sum. After giving his assistant instructions on what to buy, Baiken headed to the city's most exclusive fashion boutique. There, he purchased a luxury watch, a finely tailored suit, designer leather shoes, and other high-end items. Standing in front of the mirror, he looked as dazzling as a god. His assistant, standing nearby, commented, "Rishia is a top-tier brand from Italy with over 100 years of history. They're famous for flawless craftsmanship and custom tailoring. If the boss isn't satisfied, I can recommend something even more exclusive. But custom tailoring does require time." Baiken's eyes lit up. "Perfect. Just tailor everything for me then." She gestured toward the elegant saleswoman. "Including the suits, the boss will need 3 sets in total. The first set is formal, suitable for important business meetings or grand ceremonies. The other 2 sets lean more toward everyday wear, but they'll still be very refined." Hearing this, Baiken nodded eagerly. Inside, he felt a wave of satisfaction. The system hasn't flagged this spending either. That means it's safe to indulge. Manager Tan turned to the saleswoman and instructed, "Prepare 2 sets of each style, tailored for different occasions. Start taking the boss's measurements right away." The saleswoman smiled and complied. Baiken stepped forward to be measured, thinking to himself, 2 sets of each, that's going to be expensive. Assistant Tan added softly, The boss is very busy. Once we return, I'll personally handle buying your everyday clothes. No need for you to select them yourself." "That's very thoughtful of you," Baiken replied, smiling into the mirror. "Now this is true professionalism," he thought proudly. A while later, the two of them drove home. On the way, the beautiful assistant handed him a list. "Here's the shopping plan we discussed earlier, boss. Please review it." The list included a large bonsai tree priced at $988, 10 lucky bamboo plants, each at $188, a luxury sofa set for $660,000, a handmade tea set for $22,000, a natural stone tea tray for $113,000, along with premium tea leaves, a high-end desk, a professional streaming chair, a high-performance PC setup with dual monitors, 30 sets of mechanical keyboards totaling $600,000. Seeing the list, Baiken felt momentarily overwhelmed by the sheer extravagance. Reading through the list, he focused only on the final figure for simplicity's sake. The costliest item didn't matter. At that moment, the beautiful assistant reminded him, all of the products are authentic, purchased at the lowest internal price, without any additional expense to the company. Not long after, they arrived at a building that looked like a royal palace. She turned to him and said, "CEO Bai, we've arrived. This is the house you requested, with 1 living room and 2 bedrooms located close to the school." Inside, she handed him a key card and a physical key, which he accepted promptly. As he took them, Baiken thought to himself, "The system didn't warn me about this. Buying clothes, renting a house, these aren't directly tied to the company, but they still shape the image of a boss." The assistant added softly, "Please take some rest, boss. The new items will be delivered to your home within the next few days." Baiken nodded. "All right, understood. Starting next week, I'll begin interviewing candidates in a small meeting room. Make sure Assistant Tan prepares the materials for me." She gave him a warm, sparkling smile. "Of course, that's part of my job." Later, Assistant Tan drove back while Baiken left deep in thought. The basics are done shopping, renting a house, all settled. Now, I need to think about recruitment. The candidate can't be too clever, or they'll disrupt my plans. But they also can't be too naive, since the game still needs to be played to meet the system's requirements. Simply posting job listings online might only attract unreliable people, but I can't exaggerate too much either. Suddenly, a memory struck him. Back in college, besides Mei Yang, there was another talented person. Before long, Baiken arrived at a familiar place. Looking around, he reminisced. "In my first year of college, I practically lived at the internet cafe, never going back to the dorms, changing clothes, or caring about appearances. Even in summer, when everyone else wore shorts and t-shirts, I stubbornly stayed in sweaters and long pants." Stepping inside, more memories came back. By the second year, after failing too many courses, the school advised me to take a break. I ended up surviving here, making money by boosting ranks and selling in-game items, spending 2 or 3 years in this very place. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Aha, found him. The man he was searching for was a chubby, disheveled-haired gaming addict. As Baiken approached, he thought to himself, everyone calls him by that nickname Kan Dichiu. He called out unexpectedly, "BB, can you pause for a moment?" The young man froze, removed his headphones, and stared in shock. "You're looking for me." Baiken calmly replied, "There's a job at my company. Would you be interested?" Meanwhile, he weighed the idea in silence. Hiring someone this experienced in gaming could be worth it. Even if the cost is higher, the system should handle it. But then again, knowing how to play games doesn't necessarily mean knowing how to design them. He might lack flexibility and cause problems. Bisu, however, gave a dismissive look and muttered, "Administrator work? Not interested." Without hesitation, Baiken slapped a thick stack of bills onto the table. not an administrator, a designer. Accept this offer, and not only will you receive payment upfront, but the company will also provide you with a top-of-the-line PC setup, dual monitors included. You'll be free to indulge in gaming to your heart's content." The young man's eyes widened in shock. "What? Are you serious? You're not messing with me? So, what exactly would I be doing?" Baiken's tone softened. "Simple. Play games, experience different titles, not just ours, and report any issues you encounter. On top of that, you'll have the chance to participate in design work and offer your own ideas. I believe you're more than capable of handling this position." Right after hearing this, Bi-Su lowered his head in contemplation and hesitantly replied, "I agree, I'll consider it." Seeing that the bait had been taken, Arbayan stood up, placed a hand on Bok-Su's shoulder, and said, "Here's what you need to do. Take this $500, clean yourself up, get a haircut, and buy a proper outfit." With that, he stepped outside, looking sharp, and added, "Our company is located in Shanha. As for when you'll begin working, I'll give you a call. Just be prepared when the time comes." Upon hearing this, young Bi-Chu accepted the stack of money, tears of gratitude welling in his eyes. He lowered his head onto the table, overcome with emotion. "Finally, someone recognizes me," he sobbed. From the side, someone remarked, "Oh, looks like our ban has done it again. Though, this young Bi-Su doesn't seem all that stable." The next morning, a blonde-haired young man gazed up at Ban's company building. "So this is Dangda Company, the one behind the game's Desert Lurin Expressway in Mujiang, and it's right here in Shanhajing." His name was Hang Zeba, a game planning executive earning a monthly salary of $1,500. He stepped inside the building, pressed the elevator button, and waited. When the doors opened, to his surprise, he spotted a familiar face. It was La Lu, the game planning manager with a monthly salary of $7,000. The blonde-haired man widened his eyes in disbelief. "La Lu? Why is he here?" Zeba smiled faintly, extended his hand, and greeted, "Good morning, Luya." But La Lu shook his head, his tone dismissive. "The standards here are incredibly high. There's no way you'll get in. I'm leaving now, you should go home and rest." Zeba's face darkened as though covered in ash. His mouth fell open in shock. "Holy, I didn't expect him to be here for an interview. Could the requirements really be this strict?" He stepped into the elevator, thinking to himself, "If even someone like La Lu couldn't make it, then I have no chance. But since I'm already here, I might as well give it a try before heading back." Gathering his resolve, Hang Zeba approached the reception desk where two beautiful young women in red uniforms greeted him with bright smiles. "Hello, sir. Are you here for an interview?" Feeling flustered in front of the strikingly attractive pair, he scratched his head awkwardly. Yes, I'm here for an interview. My name is Hang Zeba." At the same time, he thought to himself, "Wait, the reception desk has another pair of gorgeous twin sisters." The two receptionists, equally elegant and professional, replied in unison, "Please wait a moment. We'll inform the interviewer right away. Please follow me." Soon after, Zeba was led toward the CEO's office. As he walked through the halls, he couldn't help but be impressed. Wow, everything here is top-notch. The latest, most expensive computers, branded office supplies. This place is enormous, almost as spacious as a golf course. The receptionist gently knocked on the office door and sweetly said, "Excuse me, CEO Bai, I've brought the interviewee." A calm voice replied promptly, "Okay, come in." As the door opened, Zeba was caught off guard. Sitting inside was none other than Roman 6 Can, looking exceptionally handsome and imposing. Roman 6 Can greeted warmly, "You must be Hang Zeba. Please, have a seat. I am the CEO of Limited Liability Company D. Da Guang." Zeba, feeling slightly nervous, slowly took his seat. Yes, hello, CEO Bai. Immediately, Baiken poured him a fragrant cup of tea and smiled. Make yourself comfortable. Let's have a chat. Please enjoy some tea. Ziba accepted graciously. Thank you, CEO Bai. At the same time, he thought to himself, this man is the real deal, a true heavyweight. Baiken leaned back slightly and spoke. Tell me briefly about your work experience. Ziba replied. Previously, I worked at Shenyang Game. Upon hearing this, Baiken's lips curved into a gentle smile, though there was something curious in his expression. Ziba secretly thought to himself, oh no, CEO Bai is smiling. Is he laughing at my lack of experience? Coming here for an interview with such limited expertise as someone still fairly new to the industry, perhaps I've been harboring unrealistic dreams. To his surprise, Baiken suddenly exclaimed with enthusiasm, excellent, excellent. Young Ziba froze in astonishment, unable to understand what was happening. Then, without warning, Baiken pointed directly at him and said, your qualifications are very suitable for our company's requirements. May I ask when you can start working? The young man's eyes widened in disbelief. He thought he must be dreaming. After a brief pause, he stammered, tomorrow, sir. Baiken chuckled happily. All right, that's great. Remember to bring your resignation documents here tomorrow. We'll sign the official employment contract then. Regarding salary and benefits, do you have any proposals? Flustered and shy, Ziba replied almost timidly, would $2,000 per month be acceptable? At the same time, he thought nervously to himself, I already have 6 months of experience, and my previous salary was wanting $500. Asking for an extra $500 shouldn't be unreasonable, right? Unexpectedly, Baiken sighed deeply, placing a hand on his forehead in mock distress. Seeing this, Ziba panicked, his blonde hair trembling slightly as his eyes widened with regret. What's going on? Did I ask for too much? I should have just kept the same salary as before. Why did I negotiate like that? But then, CEO Bai calmly raised his hand and said, renting a house in Jingo for $1,000 a month doesn't seem excessive, does it? Spending $800 monthly on meals and entertaining guests isn't unreasonable either, right? Now, if you set aside $300 for 2 or 3 new sets of clothes, add another $200 for utilities and daily expenses, plus $100 for transportation, you're already spending quite a lot. And don't forget gifts for your girlfriend, maybe $300 for things like lipstick or makeup. That still leaves $500 in savings each month, which is just being prudent. We should also consider insurance and other deductions, which would cost around $3,500 annually. To ensure a proper standard of living, our company is committed to providing salaries and benefits higher than the industry average. Ziba stood thunderstruck, frozen in place for what felt like 100 seconds. Then Baiken confidently raised 4 fingers. So tell me, would $4,000 a month be more appropriate? The young man's jaw nearly dropped. His mind raced. Holy, is this some kind of joke? Do wealthy people all think like this? Scratching his head awkwardly, he finally answered, yes, of course. The two shook hands warmly. Baiken grinned. Then it's settled. Welcome to Dang D Network Technology Company. Still overwhelmed, Ziba thanked him again and left the office with trembling legs, closing the door behind him. He was utterly shocked. Meanwhile, inside the office, Baiken picked up a pen to sign some documents. The moment he saw the name Lao, someone he despised, he dismissed him immediately. As for the recent graduate, Ziba, he was accepted without hesitation. Overjoyed, Baiken exclaimed, excellent, excellent. With this, big things are sure to come. Outside, the 2 receptionists stood frozen like statues. The reason soon became clear. A dozen employees were crowded together, loudly playing a game and swearing at one another. One of them turned to Balu and said, "You're good, let's be friends." "Sure thing," Balu replied casually. My ID is Bisu. Feel free to add me right away." Witnessing this, Mayan quickly walked into Bayan's office. "Hey, Bayan, may I come in?" Relaxing on the sofa with his phone in hand, Bayan was still playing Wild Rift. He waved casually. "Of course. Come in and have some tea." Mayan poured himself a cup and remarked, "You really understand your employees well, Bayan. From what I see, your staff outside are already reaching full capacity. Hiring seems to be effortless for you." Bayan handed him a stack of documents. "It's nothing. Take a look, these are their CVs." As Mayan read through the pile, his expression shifted from surprise to disbelief. His face darkened, his eyes bulging with frustration. Almost none of the applicants had any meaningful experience or achievements. Is it really this difficult to find competent designers like Bayan? He wondered. Or should we increase the budget or perhaps seek external assistance with recruitment? After hearing this, Bayan immediately adopted a cold, aloof demeanor and said, "No. Actually, several designers came to apply, but I rejected them all." Mayang, mouth agape in astonishment, asked, "Huh? Why would you do that?" Bayan turned toward the glass door, raising his hand in a dismissive gesture. "First of all, these designers all suffer from the same problem, rigid thinking. They can't entertain new ideas. Second, they demand exorbitant fees, but their quality-to-price ratio is completely unreasonable." Now fully convinced, Mang responded, "Ah, I see." Bayan continued, "Lastly, and most importantly, they've lost all passion for gaming." Perplexed, Mang scratched his head. "But without them, who will be in charge of game design?" Bayan sighed deeply before confidently declaring, "That would be me." "But you're the boss, RQ. Surely you wouldn't mind having a designer to assist?" "There's already someone assisting," Bayan replied. "This guy named Hang Zeba. He seems quite competent. Finding a chief designer is like knowing at a glance whether a solution is flawed." Mang then asked, "Hang Zeba? But isn't half a year of experience limited to operational planning?" Bayan clapped his hands. "Don't just look at the title, look at what he has accomplished. He's crafted original game systems through cloud editing, and he's adjusted the game's datasheet 7 or 8 times. Does that sound like mere operational planning? Clearly, he's more than just an assistant to the chief designer." Hearing this, Mayang's eyes sparkled with delight. Then he truly is a talent. But judging by the current designer salary standards, paying him only 4,000 a month seems a bit low. Seeing how easily impressed the young man was, Bayan secretly rejoiced. "I agree, but there's no rush. Perform well, and the salary will rise. And Zeba isn't the only one. Others are also extremely talented. Take Baku. For example, he ranks first in the entire tribe in the virtual world game, with 6 titles earned purely through achievements. Leading a team to slay beasts is practically routine for him. Imagine he can lead 40 people to defeat a boss. Isn't he perfect to oversee the project's progress?" "Talent, talent, it's all about talent," Mayang exclaimed eagerly. "When shall we begin working?" Bayan asked rhetorically, then answered himself, "There's no better time than now. Let's start tomorrow." A moment later, Bayan stepped out of the office and startled everyone with his announcement. "Everyone, please pause your work for a moment. I have something important to announce." All employees immediately gathered. Bayan spoke firmly. "After this preparation period, most of you are already in the working state. Starting tomorrow, we will officially commence operations." The room erupted in joyful applause. Smiles spread across every face. "It's here. Finally, we're entering the explosive research phase." At that moment, Hang Zeba muttered to himself, his voice trembling. "Forward to work. Let's push ourselves in an excellent environment, with fair pay, and with an employer who truly recognizes us. Why wait? Let's give it everything we have." Overcome with emotion, The young man burst into tears. Bayan then declared, "All right, since tomorrow marks the official start, let's call it a day now. Everyone can head home early." Hang Zeba froze as though struck by lightning. "Did I hear that correctly?" Bayan continued, "Today is Friday. We'll finish early. Tomorrow and the day after are the weekend, and Monday is Singles Day. We'll take that off as well." Checking the nearby clock, Kwang Zinbi was utterly astonished. Heavens, it's only 3 p.m. and we're already done. Fast forward to the following Monday evening. At Bayan's house, he lay on the sofa deep in thought. Tomorrow officially begins. What kind of game should we make to ensure success? He instantly summoned a mental conference, envisioning himself surrounded by different versions of his own voice. Bayan raised his hand. "Let me go first." With a hint of frustration, another version of himself said, "All right, let's hear from Bayan with glasses. The challenge this time is to deliberately choose the wrong direction without letting the employees realize it." Holding a coffee cup, Bayan remarked, "With smart devices becoming increasingly common, mobile gaming is trending. At the very least, we must avoid touching mobile games." Another Bayan picked up his gaming device. "How about making a PC game? Something like a virtual world disruptor?" Bayan with glasses shook his head. "A PC game? Not ideal. It's risky. If we accidentally create a hit like Minecraft, we'll be in trouble." Slamming his coffee cup down with a sharp thud, Bayan snapped. "Then how about a shooter? Shooters are dominating the market right now." Bayan with glasses quickly raised his hand in agreement. "Exactly. That genre demands a high level of craftsmanship. Our staff definitely can't handle it. Diving into it headfirst is a surefire way to fail." The group unanimously raised their hands in approval. With some peculiar modifications during development, this project is destined to flop. That ensures a clean loss. "Perfect," Bayan concluded. "Let's proceed." Fast forward to Tuesday morning, November 12th. Pon called all company employees together for a roundtable meeting. Every pair of eyes was fixed on him, waiting for his words. Baikan began in a commanding voice. "The next item on our agenda is the development of a PC game, a first-person shooter, FPS style." The moment he spoke, Hang Zibi's face turned pale, as green as a lime. "Is that so? Jong has been incredibly successful, and now the new project is a PC game, a first-person shooter too," he muttered. Just as Hang Zba was about to respond, Baikan immediately cut in. "We are not doing mobile game projects. Dang Da's goal is to dominate the gaming world. We cannot let small mobile projects overshadow our vision. Wealth alone is not my style, nor is it Dang Da's. If we're not committed, then let's forget about it. But if we are doing it, we must excel." His words thundered through the room. The staff erupted into applause so loud it nearly deafened the ears of everyone present. Hang Zbe thought to himself, CEO Bai is truly different. His vision is unmatched. Baikan then firmly pointed to his left. "For this project, Huang Zba and Bishu will take charge. Bishu will handle conceptual design, while Hang Zba will oversee strategic direction and execution." Hearing this, the blonde-haired Hang Zba was stunned. From a strategic executive to a strategic overseer, I've leapt ahead 5 to 6 years in experience in an instant. Unbelievable. Baikan raised 3 fingers and continued. "As for this game, I have 3 requirements. First, it must have sufficient plot complexity. It cannot simply be player versus player combat. It needs depth and substance. Second, we must prioritize the player experience. Simplicity is key. Third, we need epic weaponry priced at $888. Decide how many to sell yourselves, but that will be the limit." At that point, Hang Zba raised his hand. "CEO Bai, I have a suggestion." but Baikan didn't even acknowledge him. No one else has anything to say? Excellent, excellent. The staff clapped again, though their stiff expressions betrayed their real feelings. Deep down, they all thought, our boss doesn't even give us a chance to speak. Baikan rose from his seat. The planning team has 1 week to come up with a design plan. Bishu, you'll be in charge of ideas and direction. Hang ZBA, you'll handle the detailed plan and task allocation. Mayang, for now just focus on learning from others and do your best to assist. Yes, sir, I understand, Mayang replied eagerly. Baikan then stepped forward, his tone sharp and cold. If there are any issues, especially financial ones, report directly to me without hesitation. Let's adjourn. Inwardly, however, he was already strategizing. FPS games are different. Plot complexity is crucial. Too many choices with little consequence will only waste effort. Lowering difficulty for new players could anger the veterans, and those overpriced weapons at $888. On top of that, CSO is already dominating the market, offering an excellent FPS experience. Competing with them won't be easy. If this project somehow passes the trial stage, it will be more than enough. This time, I'll make sure it brings me profit. That evening, long after hours, Hang ZBA remained at the office, quietly reflecting. To excel as a strategic overseer, even if CEO Bai deducts my overtime pay, I'll push forward. I have no choice. Just then, to his surprise, Balu stepped forward holding a massive plan in his hands. Mr. Hang, I've already sketched out a preliminary framework. Hang ZBA was taken aback. He quickly pulled out a chair. Please, Mr. Bishu, have a seat before you continue. Balu sat down and began to explain. The last 2 requirements from CEO Bai are relatively easy to meet. The real challenge lies in the first one, the plot complexity. We can't hope to achieve the same perfection as for in FPS games. Their character design, animations, and backgrounds are on another level. For us, it will be very difficult. Hang ZBA nodded. You're right, I think the same. Balu continued. CEO Bai has always been skilled at investing little and gaining much. This is the challenge he set before us. Characters, settings, and plot progression all must be designed as economically as possible. First, the characters. Since it's a first-person game, the main character can remain relatively simple. We can allow players to choose between fighting zombies or mercenaries. By modifying the base model, we create enough variation. A variety of monsters will suffice. Hang ZBA leaned back, his blonde hair shimmering in the office light. I understand, but I'm afraid if we limit it to just zombies and mercenaries, it won't add enough depth. We'll need to include other roles as well. Baku then presented a plan that looked like a forest of papers and explained, we only need a single character, a girl. Specifically, I intend to make her mute. Young Hang DB stared at the plan in disbelief. A mute character? Baku calmly confirmed, exactly. It's the most reasonable choice. Otherwise, we'd need to hire a voice actor and deal with lip syncing, which requires a lot of additional work. He continued, all we really need are gestures, expressions, and movements. This girl will serve as a beacon in the darkness, helping regulate the player's emotions. When players get absorbed in the monotonous cycle of fighting zombies and mercenaries, she will bring variety. For example, she can help solve puzzles. If the main entrance is blocked and there's a vent nearby, she could crawl through and assist the protagonist in opening the door. Hawaiian Zal nodded in agreement but raised a concern. That sounds fine, but how should the story's context be established? It seems like you're designing a major base at sea. Baku crossed his arms coldly. Yes, this is the game's central setting. A sinister organization is conducting virus experiments, and the protagonist must fight their way from the lowest level of the base to the highest and then escape. The environments will be confined to rooms and corridors, with walls and floors marked by traces of viruses. Some rooms will be messy, others severely damaged. By making small adjustments, we can create 3 to 4 variations of these environments to meet the game's needs. Excitedly, Han Zibe exclaimed, "Ah, this idea is absolutely brilliant." The two continued brainstorming. BXU suggested, besides the environment, we can expand the content. For instance, why is there a girl in this evil company at sea? Hang Zbe added, she carries a unique antibody, so they would likely capture her for experimentation. Clever, right? Her blood could help the protagonist resist infection. For example, if the player is injured by zombies, the girl could use a syringe to draw her own blood and heal the main character. Kazi eagerly built on the idea. Yes, but each treatment weakens her. Players would need to increase their proficiency to reduce the number of treatments required. Wonderful, wonderful, Hang Zbe said enthusiastically. He then raised a finger and declared, Mr. Ba, you're remarkable. With limited resources, you've crafted such a structured and emotionally coherent plot. Baku chuckled. Not at all. I simply fulfilled CEO Bai's writing task. He probably envisioned this from the very beginning. Hang Zi laughed mischievously. You're too modest. CEO Bai gave us 3 requirements, and your solutions match them perfectly. What a coincidence. Baku replied with a slight smile. Not really. CEO Bai has already developed 2 successful games. This proves he had a clear direction from the start. Sensing something odd, Ha asked again, Really? Then what exactly were the other 2 requirements? BXU answered with a grin. First, the game's difficulty should be lowered for beginners. This mainly involves hand controls, which can be gradually adjusted. Second, regarding the weapon system, CEO Bai foresaw the need for long-term engagement. Han Zbe froze for a moment. What do you mean by that? Baku chuckled softly. It may sound simple, but behind it are higher expectations. Legendary weapons must be available permanently for 888, while common, exquisite, and heroic weapons should be obtained in other ways. This means CEO Bai wants weapons to be tiered. Apart from the legendary ones, the rest won't be sold directly. Quang Za, with his blonde hair gleaming, understood immediately. I see. Players could acquire weapons through different methods, which adds variety and depth. CEO Bai truly has deeper intentions. Indeed, Han Zbe agreed. Meeting someone with such foresight is rare. With talent like this, it's impossible not to achieve huge success. Moments later, Kazi spoke again. Everything's clear now. CEO Bai only wants us to mature and not lose direction. By hinting at his ideas, he also helps us brainstorm. We must absolutely create a perfect game that meets his expectations. On the morning of Wednesday, November 14th, at Baikan's University, students were deeply engrossed in their studies. At the back of the classroom, however, Baikan was absorbed in a CSGO match, indifferent to everything else. So boring, he muttered to himself. If it weren't for the employees, I'd just head to the office and have some fun. Suddenly, a message popped up from Hang Zbe, CEO Bai. The overall plan is nearly finalized. Please review the general direction. Baikan frowned in surprise. Already? No way, it's only been 2 days. Are they kidding? Reluctantly, he opened the document and was greeted by a wall of dense text so overwhelming it made his head spin. How am I supposed to read all of this on my phone? He sighed. Well, let's just skim through and see if they manage to meet my 3 requirements. The narrative structure was already in place. They were also considering reducing the game's difficulty while introducing legendary weapons that could be permanently owned for $888. With everything aligned to the plan, the project appeared to be progressing smoothly.